Okay, my camera mount is not good, so this may be crazy for a variety of reasons. You may be lurching around the car. So I'm recording this with my GoPro Max, and the GoPro Max is a wonderful camera in many ways. It's really easy for vlogging because it's a 360 camera and you don't have to worry about which direction you're pointing it in. You can kind of refine that later and redirect it. But the problem I had when I was recording in the Outer Hebrides was that it basically is really poor in high wind, and so and there's a lot of strong wind in the Outer Hebrides. So I had large quantities of video where I was just talking to the camera, and you basically just can't hear what I'm saying. It's just wind noise completely, and that's partly because obviously it's a microphone that you're holding at a distance, and it's partly because there's no way to put, for example, a windsock on it or anything like that. So I realized that what I should have done, and what you should really do whenever you're doing a video, is make sure you've got at least one backup audio recording. And so what I'm trying here is I'm using my lavalier mic, this little Rode one. I'm not sure that Rode is the one I would choose if I were buying again now, but they're not bad. And I've got it plugged directly into my iPhone with one of the adapters that they sell. And so the native audio, you can hear now, the native audio. I'm driving fairly slowly, but I have the windows of the car open. And I have the camera closer to me than you would normally have it in the car. And I'm still having to talk quite loud. So that's the native audio of the camera. But if I switch to the audio, still talking at about the same level, if I switch to the audio of the Rode mic, then hopefully we'll find that's a lot better. Now, I've made a pretty extreme situation here because I've got the roof open, I've got the windows open, I'm deliberately generating wind noise, but let's wind the windows up a bit and see how things compare if I do that. Okay, so that's more of a normal car environment. So this is just using the native GoPro mics built in. I do still have the sunroof slightly open here, so there's some background noise. And this is switching to using the microphone that's built, the lav mic that's just recording on my iPhone. I do have nice audio recorders, by the way, but I thought that there was more likelihood, if I was going to try and use this more often, that I would be carrying my iPhone around with me than that I would be carrying one of my Zoom audio recorders. And so this is the iPhone running an app called Voice Record Pro, I think, which looks like quite a nice app. I've just got it. You can get it for free if you don't mind ads. You can get it for like £6 or £7 if you want to pay to have the ads removed, and I'm quite happy to support it. It looks like a good app, and it gives you lots of choice, including things like the ability to upload directly to iCloud or Dropbox very easily. And it looks like a very good app. So this is my experiment. We're trying in the car first, and we're going to see what it's like when I get outdoors, using the GoPro as a camera and using this little lav mic plugged into my phone as a voice recorder. Okay, well, here we are recording again. In fact, the volume might need to go down a little bit. Let's do that. Okay, so here we are. We are now outside, not in the car, again recording using the Voice Record Pro on my phone, and also just the native audio on the camera. Because one of the problems with this camera is that it has no inputs at all, right? This is partly, they could have done a Bluetooth input. Even Bluetooth quality would have been good, but there's nothing on this. It has a USB-C socket, but I don't think it can take audio inputs that way. So you really are restricted to the microphones that are built in. And part of the reason I bought, slight uphill slope here, which is why I'm panting. Part of the reason I bought this camera was because it does have rather better mics than many of the other ones available on 360 cameras. But that doesn't necessarily mean
that it's good enough for all situations, particularly, as I say, when it's very windy. Now, one of the other problems is with a 360 camera, even if you could plug an audio adapter into it, you'd then have lots of cables that were visible in the shot, because essentially you're viewing all the way around. How do you run the cables unless you had a cunning one that ran down the selfie stick here, or something that I'm using to hold this? So we have a problem, and I think the only way really to solve this problem is to use a separate audio recorder, and I have a hopefully fairly subtle lav mic connected here, and then to synchronize up the audio from the two devices afterwards. Now, that's very easy in something like Final Cut. It has you just drag the two together and basically say synchronize them, and it'll do it automatically for you. Otherwise, you need to do something like that, ideally a bit louder, with a nice sharp click, so you can see the peak in both audio channels and align them by hand. Now, this here isn't necessarily the best test because there's not much wind, it's quite quiet, nice sound of birdsong around, but nothing too challenging. So we'll try it in the car, and actually we have tried it in the car. We'll see whether that worked okay. And for the moment, we'll just enjoy this very nice wood here when I get up to the top of this little hill. Isn't that lovely? Okay, so here I am on top of a hill wearing my very attractive hat and my glasses, and also a little lavalier mic. Why am I doing this? I'm doing this because I'm using my GoPro Max as a camera to record this, and the GoPro Max is a great camera, but it has one big problem, and that is the audio, if there's much wind, is very limited. The microphones are quite good otherwise, in fact that's part of the reason I bought it. But if there's much wind, which there isn't now, so this isn't going to be a good demo, then what you need is some external mic for it. Now, if this were a standard GoPro, or any standard camera, you might fix a mic on top of it, or you might run a cable down the side and have a mic, a lavalier mic like I have here, lavalier, whichever way you like to pronounce it. I think it's a lavalier normally. And the problem with the GoPro Max is that it's a 360 degree camera. It's recording all the way around, which is really useful if you don't know until later how you might want to chop and edit the film. I can, point over there and show you the view over that way, and I can come back to here and you can see me again. The view is prettier. But the challenge here is that means you can't put any normal sort of shotgun mic on top or anything like that, because it would be in the view. And any cables are also rather obvious and so on. So this doesn't have a way of attaching an external mic, which is a pain. So the question then is, what's the easiest way, lowest hassle way for me to use this for my normal sort of vlogging with an external mic? And I do have some little Zoom voice recorders. I could connect them to a microphone and so on, but I'm experimenting with Voice Record Pro, which is an app. Actually, any recording app on the iPhone would do this, but this seems to be really quite nice. And I've got my little lav mic here, and I'm recording both on the GoPro and on here, and you can hear there's a bit of wind here. So let's hear the sound just from the GoPro. So here I am talking to the GoPro in a fairly normal voice, and you may hear some wind noise in the background. And then this is back to me talking on the lavalier mic, again, fairly normal voice. I'm facing into the wind just to make things worse, but the lav does have a little wind shield on it. So that might improve things, we'll see. One thing that's quite nice is that Voice Record Pro actually has a watch app, which you can see here possibly. I'm recording at the moment, and that means I can stop and start it from my watch, And if you've got a recent enough watch that actually has a speaker in it, you can preview the recordings by uploading them to your watch and playing them back, or at least extracts of them back on the watch. Why would you want to do that? Well, the thing is that when I've got the lav plugged into my headphone socket here, and this is an old phone which has a good old 3.5mm headphone socket, that means, of course, that the audio has, I can't play it back on the speakers on the phone. It thinks I've got headphones plugged in. So having an external speaker like the watch is kind of useful. The other thing is this microphone is the Rode lavalier mic, which is not the world's greatest. It's not bad. I mean, their construction is quite good. I like a lot of things about Rode mics, but I actually think the sound quality isn't as good as you get from some others. So there's a trade-off of price and quality and convenience and so on there, but you can probably get better sound than this if you want to. Nonetheless, I think that this is actually not a bad option for recording activity in the outdoors, and at least making sure that you've got backup audio in case the wind noise proves too much.